Stepping into your Moxie means that you possess the mindset and the skill set to be able to walk into any room or onto any stage and unapologetically speak your truth and know that you are going to move people to action with your words. For approximately a decade, I have been a public speaking and women's leadership consultant. And what I have experienced, whether a client is an executive, an entrepreneur, a change maker, a media personality, is that most folks have two things going on with them. One, a tremendous desire to be able to claim visibility for their ideas and make positive impact in the world. And at the same time, a fear that going after those visibility opportunities will generate a lot of uncomfortable sensation and a fear really of being seen. I wanted to write Step Into Your Moxie to give readers an opportunity to recognize that most of us have both of those feelings, that desire to do big things in the world and a fear of what will happen to us while we go after those big things. Step Into Your Moxie provides a playful pathway for readers to recognize how to be able to navigate through both of those things. Over the last couple of years, millions of women have marched on behalf of their own rights and the rights of others. Other women have told their powerful stories with hashtags like #MeToo and Time's Up. More and more women in the workplace are talking about the need for pay equity. And yet, for most women, it feels very different to show up to a march or to broadcast one's views in an angry or even an empowering social media post. But for too many women who are showing up at work in an environment that is perhaps run by leaders who are complicit in maintaining the status quo, it can feel scary to put your ideas out there, to be your greatest champion. And that's what Step Into Your Moxie is all about. Helping women to be able to find the words and to buff up their Moxie muscles, to be able to self-advocate and be able to navigate through some of those uncomfortable moments that will emerge. If you think about any communication that you are preparing for, whether it's a presentation, a negotiation, giving feedback to a colleague, we usually devise our communication thinking about what we first want to say and then where we want to go. But as I say in the book, spoiler alert, that is the wrong way. Rather, we want to begin by asking first and foremost, what do we want the person or the people we're speaking to be able to do by the end of our communication? Once we know that, then we can reverse engineer everything we say before and before and before until we get to the very beginning, and that's going to ensure that we're actually moving people to take action. Whenever we find ourselves in a slightly uncomfortable situation, we have 4 pathways we can potentially pursue. Number 1, we can say nothing and hope that it gets better. Number 2, we can think through everything we plan to say and ruminate on what we might say one day. In case you can't tell, I have a little bias here. That doesn't usually feel very good for most of us. A third option is we can wing it. We can go in, we can say what's ever at top of mind and hope that we will have the impact that we intend. That also doesn't tend to be very productive because usually we speak from emotion and we don't call people to take action. The fourth thing that we can do is strategically sculpt what we plan to say, rehearse it out loud by beginning with the end in mind and reverse engineering. And that's what I talk about in great detail in the book, how to be able to reverse engineer and actually role play aloud for those daring conversations so that we can speak up and out and do it in a way that's going to be a win for us, but also a win for the other person that we're having the conversation with. I'm not a big fan of the word fear, assuming that you are not confronted with a snake that you need to get away from. But in those moments when you label what you're feeling as fear before you're about to speak up for yourself, here's the problem with that. The moment we say, I'm scared, our body triggers a physiological response. And that usually makes us feel wretched. Our hands get clammy, our stomach feels disgusting, our throat might start to tighten up, when really what we're experiencing is sensation. In other words, if you think about any moment when you were on the cusp of doing something big, saying something big, my hunch is that your innards did not feel like they were on an island vacation. Rather, it felt like there was perhaps a colony of butterflies flapping their wings in your stomach. And that's a good thing. It means that you are on the cusp of doing something big, of saying something big. What we want to do in those moments is actually express gratitude for the way that we're feeling, first and foremost, because what that does is it reminds us that we don't want to shove down that sensation. Rather, we want to lean into it, play nicely with it. And from that place, then we can start to identify what is it that we want to say. And as I share in the book, there are a lot of strategies and techniques to be able to be more comfortable with that sensation and actually use it to empower our communication rather than diminish it. Yes, I refer to these moments that bring you to your knees, that humble you, that make you surrender as bum biting moments. In the book, I talk about why embracing these moments is actually one of our most direct pathways to stepping into our Moxie, for they provide opportunities to strengthen critical Moxie muscles like empathy, transparency, creativity, the ability to receive, and ultimately self-awareness. Because Moxie is choosing to be brave, choosing to speak up, choosing to disrupt the status quo, I believe you actually need these bum biting moments to be able to more frequently choose Moxie in the pedestrian moments that define our day-to-day. For if we can get comfortable believing that what's happening to us is actually happening for us, is giving us the opportunity to be able to more powerfully speak up, then we're going to do that much more by default during the other times when it doesn't feel as challenging to speak up. There is so much that I want for my daughter. I want her to be able to be tender and fierce, to trust her instincts, to speak up and be seen as assertive rather than bossy. And above all, I want her opportunities to be dictated by her aptitude, by her passions, by her hard work, and not because she did or did not win the genetic lottery. My daughter, at just 4.5 years old, already has an opinion on everything. And for the most part, that's a good thing. However, her dad and I have already seen her start to navigate through her own on-again, off-again relationship with her voice. For example, at school, she often will shut down when she's asked a question. Last year, during a preschool performance where she had some lines in a play, she got on stage and she said nothing. One of the other things I'm trying to learn as a mom is that my daughter, like all women, is having her own experience, her own journey. And I need to let her do that, have her own Moxie building experiences, good and bad. I want readers to purchase a copy of Step Into Your Moxie for every person they've ever met. Kidding, sort of. What I really, really want for readers is to recognize that stepping into our Moxie, it's never just about us. It's about other people. When we think about what's the legacy that we want to leave behind, it makes it much harder for us to play small in the world. It's the reason why the 13th and final chapter is all about legacy. It's all about what we leave behind. Because if we know that our words, our ideas can positively, perhaps even radically transform people's lives, then we have not just an opportunity, but a responsibility to step into our Moxie each and every day to change the game for those women, men, children who come behind us.